When we came here, it was a rush. I had a foxhole somewhere out in there. That's the first artillery I experienced.
Yeah.
And some of it goes, wee, 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 wee. Believe me, it gets your attention. This is my first time back, and I'm having a hard time talking, because this was an emotional thing for me. We were coming through the woods, but we were like a line that way moving that direction. And then we started moving this way, which left some like me, because I was on the other side, back a little ways. When they got right up to the edge, these two armored vehicles pulled, and were just spraying machine guns in there. And the lieutenant went over to a buddy of mine who was so scared he just had his face in the snow, picked up the bazooka, shot one of them, reloaded, and shot the other one. Where is that white church? Is it something? Oh, right there, yeah, okay. This guy and I were on a machine gun, and I don't know where we got the two foxholes, I don't remember digging them, but I've not been under fire ever. And three German 88 artillery rounds came in right around us. Yeah. Shit, I stuck my head up and I told him, but I can go home right now. So we must have been down in those fields down there. God, is that right? Because it was uphill to here. But I don't remember this many buildings here.
These buildings were there back in 1944 when you came in. Wow. These buildings were here. Actually, this building was from the second day on, Easy Company CP.
What?
Yeah. So Howard, what we actually are doing right now, if you see the aerial picture from Bizory.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Okay.
I was taken the 25th of December 1944. Yeah? We came from this road. We parked our car here.
Okay, which one are we going on? This one?
We are going on this route.
Okay.
Here you see the farm buildings. The farm buildings on our left. See that?
Yeah.
There's a big one. And you took that road. Because F Company stayed behind and took the high ground. Yeah, went on the dirt road on the high ground. D Company stayed on the other side, yeah, as a reserve, okay? When F Company was sitting along the tree line, you guys from Easy Company went further and further because you wanted to go to hill 510. If you look behind the chimney, you already see the hill. You see the trees standing on the hill. See that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
You see that? That's hill 510. Hill 510 from the southwest was coming the fire from that pinned 1st Battalion down. It was foggy, right? Remember?
Fog came and the overcast came down close, and on rare occasions it would lift long enough, fighter planes would come in. I'll swear to God, they looked like they were that high at the top of the roof. They were right there, you're looking right at them, and they were strafing the Germans. And they also were firing rockets, and I don't know what the hell else they were doing. But most of the time, and at night, oh, it was dark. There was no light anywhere, you know.
Pitch dark in your dance.
Yeah, because there was no moonlight, no. Well, that was part of the time. Occasionally, you get a little moon, and then because the snow was so white, you get a little glisten.
If you look at this, the situation like this, you're still on the street, and now all of a sudden you're coming around the curve already, and you see the street coming up.
Yeah.
Now that same morning, around 12 o'clock approximately in the afternoon, when you went in that direction, all of a sudden you saw soldiers coming up from the opposite direction. Germans were attacking. 26 Bulge Grenadiers, yes. When you saw that, you guys from Easy Company got the order to go into the high ground. So you went up on the tree, you went up on the high ground and start shooting, okay? Firefight erupted, etc., etc., etc.
But the German forces were all ground forces, right? There was no armored with them.
What they had to their disposal were tanks from the Panzerlehr Division under General WWII, okay, who had the Panzerlehr Division with him. Several tanks, yeah, I can imagine that some of them were with them, because from what I know from a later date is that also German tanks were attacking from that side, from the trees in the distance, north in the flank of not in the flank, but in the front of F Company. Easy Company was also on that side, but the situation changed. In the evening of the 19th of December, yeah, around 6 o'clock in the evening, yeah, we had F Company came back, yeah, closer to Bizory, in the line. Easy Company, 2nd platoon was there along the tree line. Somewhere around the road behind you, or somewhere here, was 1st platoon, yeah, and 3rd platoon was on the other side, over the road, behind the houses, behind the buildings, making connection with 1st Battalion, C Company. That was how the situation was. Remember that friendly tanks, American tanks, on the morning of the 20th of December, around 7:15, came up here. Remember American tanks coming from the front?
When Patton broke through, we got tanks. That's the first tanks I remember.
That's the 26. Because what happened is Captain Ryerson and his men, yeah, that was officially part of CCB, Combat Command B, 10th Armored Division, got the orders to clear Margerie, come back. And he made here connection with several tanks with the 501. He stayed one day and then pulled back on Bastogne.
See, we always felt we had limited attacks by German armored because of the forest and the trees made it difficult for them to get through. And this community of Bizory is much larger than I recall.
But when we came on walking, you said, hey, this I remember, right?
I had a foxhole somewhere out in there.
That could be quite possible, because if you know the lines, which were approximately here or there, doesn't matter, went like this, so coming from that direction over the trees, on the road. Easy Company 1st platoon was either left or either right. There was a devotion between the two, and then it went over into the high into the landscape, and over the road on the other side. It made connection on the hill.
See, I also, if in my mind, in my memory, this was about like it is there, but I don't remember the rise back there. I do not remember these trees being here when I was here. The church, yes.
You remember it? Those tree lines were there. Yeah, they're not the same trees, but there was a tree line running from the north, coming that direction, then going east and then down.
We pulled up right here, and then we had to wait a while before they decided to go back below. So, right over in there somewhere, again with my memory maybe further down, we had dug 2 foxholes. And that's the first artillery I experienced. 3 rounds came in right there around it. That's the first time I experienced that.
That could be quite possible. You know why? Because not completely Easy Company went through. They were not completely through Bizory when they were attacked, when the fire developed. When the fire developed, the last part, say about 1 platoon, was still here, okay, was still in Bizory. So it could be quite possible that you came here and dug your foxhole.
But they were temporary, because it wasn't long before we moved back down there.
At 6 o'clock in the evening, right?
I don't recall. I
because
just know we moved
in
back.
the evening, F Company was along, during the day, F Company was along the line. And during, at 6 o'clock in the evening, they came back and make a kind of encirclement. An Easy Company was about from the tree in the corner, like this, down, further there, this down to the road. See?
See, that's where I remember our line being.
On the 20th, a heavy artillery barrage from your own artillery units, in which most of the guns fired for almost 20 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yes. And on the same day that in the evening at 7 o'clock, the Germans tried an attack coming over the hill. The first attack was coming from that direction, and the second attack was coming over the hill. With that attack, 5 tanks and infantry was attacking in front of F Company positions. Easy Company was also here. Yeah. When the tanks were coming with the infantry, McAuliffe ordered to turn all the artillery pieces in that direction as far as possible and fire. About 2,500 and 3,000 rounds were fired in this area on that particular one day.
See, that surprises me because when we came here, it was a rush. And what supplies we had once the Germans closed the circle, that's what we had. So the artillery sometimes would ration where they fired, and I assume that they had a reason to fire where they did. But that many? Wow! I just don't remember them firing that many.
Now, when the tanks came, and the infantry is always a combination, of course, coming up front, the tanks, received American artillery fire. So they pulled back. Yeah, and all of a sudden, when the tanks were pulled back enough, the Americans changed fire. So what they actually did is pushed the Germans into the lines of E and F Company. And then they start firing.
See, that part's okay. That's a firefight.
Yeah.
And that we had.
It was in front of F Company positions, and A Company was of course on their right flank. Yeah. So it could be quite possible that F Company saw those tanks and you didn't see the tanks.
Could be.
Because if I look at that, they are on a bit high ground. Maybe they have better view over there.
Yeah, yeah.
But I know for 100% sure that they attacked on the 20th. And around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the firing stopped. Because the infantry there and the tanks were gone, and the infantry was either decimated or taken prisoner or escaped.
If artillery was coming in to begin with, you have your head down. And secondly, sometimes your attention is somewhere else where you think it's more dangerous or critical.
Yeah. Your lines were approximately here. From what we see here are grenade explosions, you see? Bomb craters, right? We see American vehicles, right? We see the tracks of the American vehicles, you see that? We see here the house. So I don't know exactly when that happened, but these are hits from shrapnel and bullets.
This is obviously shrapnel. It's not bullet holes. Yeah. So there was artillery probably going off very close to here. You can be a long ways away from where it hits, but the shrapnel goes through the air a long ways, and some of it goes wee. Believe me, it gets your attention.
But in the distance would be the location also for Easy Company, right?
Yeah, that's what now that part I think is pretty sure. Yeah, that's pretty sure.
So that must have been, say, from the 19 on in the evening or evening of the 19 and 1800 hours, because then the lines changed. An Easy Company, 2nd platoon, 1st platoon, 3rd platoon. I don't know how far the lines actually went, but I know they were on that side.
Well, I know we didn't stay there a long time, but we were there for at least 3-4 days, maybe a little bit longer. And but that was, the way I remember it, was a very short span between the time we were up at the church to when we moved back.
That's correct. Yeah. That's correct. Less than 1 day, right?
Oh yeah, I think it was within a few hours.
Yeah, that could be quite possible, but because you arrived, say, approximately at 12 o'clock, and at 6 o'clock in the evening, 4 hours later, the situation changed, the lines changed.
We were always feeling lucky because the forest kept it armored from coming this way. Because when you got into the trees, there were narrow dirt roads, which wasn't a great place for armored.
I know that there were even German tanks in Barrage, so that's quite possible.
Well.
Because what the farmers did is that you see the trees here planted in nice rows, correct? It's not the natural
the
wood.
Forest out there that we went through, the trees were in rows.
Yeah.
That's why I'm walking down this one time. We don't know where the Germans are. We just move until we find them. I step from this row just like this, and there's a German. Oh, he wasn't even as far away as a car. We're both looking at each other kind of shocked and then on the ground.
Whoa. Whoa, you hear that?
Yeah.
So from what I understood on the maps, is that the woods went a little bit further, okay? And then you had the positions down, right? So that was open field, that wood was not there was a gap. The Germans came attacking with half-tracks and tanks and infantry towards your position. And you had two lieutenants near you, Lieutenant Bernard Jordan and Lieutenant McGregor. And one of them had a bazooka with him. He fired on a half-track. The half-track was disabled, couldn't drive anymore. And one of your guys came out, jumped on the half-track, turned around the machine gun and started shooting on the German troops. Yeah. The woods were a little bit further. I don't know exactly how far.
You think these did come out further? Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, see, by the time we got here, the Germans were pulling back. We were pushing them back.
Okay.
I have no idea who or why we used the tactics we did. But most of the days we would move up until we found them, and then it would be firefights, and we'd push them back. We might bring artillery in. It's tough to use artillery because if you have, they're going to go off when they hit the tops of the trees, and they may, when you used to have a forward observer, if you were right there, he'd be there. He would have, Germans were out here, say 100, he'd have the shells come in 200 or 300, then he'd pull them back because he did not want them to come in too short and go off in the treetop. Yeah. Now that really scares you. I mean, when the shells are going off in the trees above you. But in this case, all we had was probably an infantry platoon. It only had 15, 16, 17 people in it anymore. You know, it was a strange thing. I think it was partly because of the weather. But you look up, it's like I had two of us on a machine gun. And then one day he wasn't there. He didn't get hit while the two of us were together. But he might have got frostbite and went to a medic or something and said, hey, you're in serious tension. You have to go back. Yeah. But other than that, that's what happened. So when I read those reports that you let me look at, there's all these casualties, but I didn't see them all happen. Once in a while somebody gets shot right beside me or get hit by shrapnel. Your squad knows each other. You're there all the time. You go to town and party and get drunk together. You know the other guys in your platoon. You know the platoon sergeant, and you know your lieutenant. But the ones you really know are in your squad. In the next platoon over, you might say, hi, Joe, but you're not that close to them. And when you get up into something like this, you're scattered out. You're only concerned about right there. And then, of course, this looks so different when it's covered with snow.
Yes. 3rd of January, small snow was already falling down on the ground.
But when it's covered with snow and then you get the low overcast, if you get moonlight, it's beautiful to look out there. But when there's overcast, it is dark at night. I mean, I don't mean a little bit dark. I mean, it is dark. Is that my phone?
That's you.
It's a girlfriend.
That's one of those what you call robocalls?
Oh Jesus. That's why you're not picking up my phone, right?